Hey everyone, this is the thermostat to my Daikin Skyair cold climate ducted heat pump system. So a lot of people don't even realize that ducted cold climate heat pumps exist, including a lot of HVAC contractors. But this is a true cold climate heat pump because it maintains its 100% of its heating capacity down to -4 degrees Fahrenheit. So as you can see here, my house is at 70 degrees and right now it's 17 degrees in New Jersey. And it's gotten a lot colder than that and the heat pump has done just fine. So the first year we had this, it actually hit -2 during a cold spell. And my house stayed at like 68, 69 without a problem. Although admittedly, that's kind of where it was maxing out. But I think that's more because the insulation in my house is really poor. It still has like the 1960s insulation that the house was built with. Now, as far as options for cold climate heat pumps, there are a lot of mini splits, but as far as I know, there's only three manufacturers in the US that do ducted cold climate heat pumps. One is the Bosch, which we didn't go with because that's really older technology. And then the Daikin Skyair, which is what we have, and then the Mitsubishi Hyperheat. The Daikin and the Mitsubishi are true communicating inverter systems. And what that means is that they can ramp themselves up and down, like modulating themselves as needed. And that's what makes them so efficient. As opposed to like traditional HVAC systems, which are just on or off. There's no in between. Now, one of the reasons for picking the Daikin over the Mitsubishi was because the Mitsubishi didn't have any wireless smart connectivity, and that's something we wanted. Now, the reason for switching to a heat pump in the first place is because when we bought the house in late 2020, the house was on heating oil. And heating oil is already expensive to heat with. And then the war in Ukraine started and the price of heating oil went even higher. So that made it that much worse. Now, bringing a gas line to the house wasn't really practical because my house is really far away from the street. And then my AC system was already 35 years old. So by switching to a ducted heat pump, we'd be killing two birds with one stone. We'd be updating our heating and cooling system at the same time. As you can see, there's snow on the ground, so you know it's cold, and our heat pumps are keeping our house very warm. Our contractor installed two Daikin Skyair systems. One is a 4-ton for our main level, which is this bigger one here, and a 2-ton for our bonus lower level, which is that smaller one down there. But only within a few months after they were installed is when our nightmare began. The 2-ton suddenly refused to heat, even when the temperature was pretty mild outside, and it was constantly giving errors. Our contractor was totally stumped. He couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. And then Daikin techs even came out 2 or 3 times and they confirmed our contractor installed everything correctly, but they were all totally confused. They couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. So after a lot of troubleshooting with no luck, they even replaced the air handler inside. They ended up swapping the entire 2-ton system, and then ever since then it's worked flawlessly. However, it took almost a year of them troubleshooting and us having to deal with long periods of time without heat. Now, unfortunately, this larger 4-ton system was also giving us issues even in our very first year. And that required replacing defective parts. And then in our second year, it completely stopped working. And that was during a heat wave. And they found that more defective parts needed to be replaced. So we ended up suffering an entire summer with no AC while we had to wait for defective parts and our contractor to come out and make the repairs. The parts were covered under warranty, but of course the labor wasn't. So in total, we had to eat about $1,200 in labor costs. Now, fast forward about 6 months to now, and our 4-ton unit again is giving us intermittent issues. Now, I would think that at some point Daikin should just replace the entire 4-ton system since if I have to keep paying for more repairs at over $1,000 a pop, you know, at which point does it just become cheaper to, you know, get a whole new unit? Now, Daikin's customer service has been really atrocious, like some of the worst I've ever experienced. And most of the time they just refuse to speak to you if you're not a registered contractor. I also had a crazy experience trying to get support for the Wi-Fi smart connectivity, which was one of the reasons we even picked Daikin to begin with. But I'll make a second video for that whole fiasco. But anyway, I'm now thinking to open a consumer affairs case at this point, because we're more than a third of the way into the warranty lifespan of the system, and we haven't had any periods of time where we've been able to enjoy the system without issues. If you're an HVAC contractor, or if you're a homeowner that's experienced similar issues, and you can give us some insights or suggestions, you know, I'd love to hear it in the comments. You know, don't get me wrong, these systems are amazing technology. They've been comparable or even cheaper to run than gas, but that's only if and when they work.